Now with Senator John Thune of South Dakota, Senate Republican Conference Chair. Senator, I haven't read all the thousands of pages of this thing, but I've read enough to know it's pretty clear what was happening here was the Russian spy, and that's what she admits that she was, what's her name, Veselnitskaya, Natalia Veselnitskaya, that she is a spy. She was working for Russia. She was baiting the Trump campaign. She was baiting them by suggesting she had negative information about Hillary Clinton. And apparently she was doing the same with the Democrats about Donald Trump.
Right. No, I don't think it should come as any surprise, David, that the Russians were trying to interfere with the elections in 2016 on both sides. And I think that the more that comes out, the more clear it is that this is sort of a garbled mess. And I think that I haven't had a chance to review all the pages. Obviously, you've read some of it today. But I think that what you'll find in there, too, is probably more clear evidence and documentation of the level that they went to try and influence and interfere in that election. But I think they didn't succeed. We know that. No. And we also know that there's not been any collusion been proven with the Trump administration.
Well, although with the Trump administration, I would agree. But the interesting thing that comes out from those notes and from previous testimony by Glenn Simpson, who was the founder of Fusion GPS, is that this Russian spy met with Fusion GPS and met with Glenn Simpson both before and after that meeting. It looks like this meeting might have been a setup. That is something that was designed, at least in cooperation with Fusion GPS, which was funded to the tune of millions of dollars by the Hillary campaign.
Correct, yeah. And I think, again, it'll be interesting to see as this information gets out there, people have a chance to digest it. And I think perhaps this picture will become more clear in time. But I think, like I said, right now, everything we know about it is just kind of a garbled mess, and that the Russians were trying to mess in the election on both sides. I think that's what's going to come out of this in the end.
By the way, there was also a question about the extent to which the FBI was spying on the Trump campaign. Now there is word that there was a source, an FBI source, or if you will, a spy within the Trump campaign itself. Question of when that individual was put into the Trump campaign by the FBI is still open. Does that concern you?
Well, sure it does. I mean, if there was any attempt by our intelligence agencies, the FBI or whomever, to spy on the Trump campaign, I think it's really important to know that. And, you know, I know some of those questions are now being asked, and hopefully the answers will be forthcoming. But, you know, clearly this is a part of this narrative, a part of this story that hasn't been fully examined yet, and I hope that it will be, because I think that too is something that would be a pretty glaring indictment if in fact it happened.
Now, looking to November, you're chair of the Republican Conference. Do you see this in any way, either positively or negatively, affecting Republicans in November?
You know, I think when you get outside of this town, David, it's really kind of a nothing burger.
Yeah.
It seems to be a non-issue in the public. When I go back to South Dakota or travel elsewhere around the country, it's just not what people are talking about.
Right.
They're ready to move on, and I think they think that this thing has been investigated to death, and you know, hopefully at some point the Mueller investigation will come to a conclusion, preferably in a timely way, because I think all these issues have been studied and examined and investigated, and at some point you just have to, whatever the recommendations and the conclusions are, get them out there. But let's get this behind us, because I think in the minds of the American people, I think it already is. I think they've moved on.
I think you're right. Senator John Thune, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks, David.